Well, the sketch therapy thing, just utterly pointless. Or uh, I could be well. I mean, that's a little mean, I guess, but it's still a joke that presents itself, isn't it? Like they could put that on his tombstone, couldn't they? Utterly pointless. But or at least a lot of the shit that he said. Hopefully there's some other side to his personal life or whatever that everything's wonderful there. Hope so, really hope so. But as far as the spurging that he does on the internet, it's like, yeah, that all seems utterly pointless. Anyway, this is something that I saw. um, that would be Ethan. Ethan's customers are dotting him up in chats lately. Saturday's show was a mini revolt. People understand if it's late, if he was offline. He chose to sell merch and books of his and others 6 out of 7 days this week instead of getting pages done. He said he has 48 pages done, but it needs a good ending, so he is trying to figure out the end of the book. Look, okay. Let me mention real quick, I am an aspiring writer. I describe myself as an aspiring writer because I have not, although I have written some complete short stories, they were, fan fiction sort of stuff. It's not, they're not, I wouldn't say that they sucked. I would say that they were reasonably good. They were funny, I think. That's generally what I shoot for, I guess, is humor rather than anything else. Anyway, seem to achieve that. Even when I'm going for drama, it seems to always kind of wind up making a joke out of it somehow. Anyway, we won't go into that. But the point is, it's like, although I've written some short stories that are finished works, they're not obviously something that can be published as mine. Now, I have plenty of ideas and a number of outlines and things for all kinds of stories that would that I could publish at some point once I write them. And I think largely my writing method, if you can even call it that, has been kind of a fly by the seat of your pants. Now, on the one hand, I think it's on the one hand, it's not like I spend all my time on it. So hopefully, if I spend all my time on it, I can get it finished. If I actually buckle down and start doing that. But as far as the way that I've been going about it, it's like, God, how long it's been? Like 25 fucking years that, I've come up with ideas for various stories. Some of them, would be like novels, and some of them just short stories, and, basically never actually sat down and wrote any of them. But certain, like, I've come up with a number of fictional universes in which to set stories, and a couple of those, at least, have been pretty well fleshed out, as far as my notes on them and the sort of things that I want to have happen and whatnot. And on the one hand, it really sucks that I have put so many years into it. I mean, off and on, but still so many years, and not got anything to show for it, like anything that I can publish. But that method, if you can call it that, still feels like it has some positive aspects to it, because the way that the story has developed, like the plot of the story has been developed, has felt very organic to me. To me, it feels like, it's not like I just, decided all at once, what the story is going to be and tried to lay it out in some kind of, quote unquote logical fashion or anything like that. It's like, no, it's just I added little bits and pieces to the outline or whatever as I thought of them, and I go back and I revise as new ideas occur to me. And I think it's taken a long time, yes, and that's bad, but at the same time I feel like it's also been good, because if I actually sat down and wrote these stories, a decade and a half ago, whenever, and had a finished product, I wouldn't have been happy with it, not at all. And I feel like I'm getting to the point now where it's like, hopefully sometime in the next few years I can actually, write a bunch of this stuff out and be genuinely satisfied with, with how it is. Anyway, there's, so anyway, my point there was just to say that I am the kind of person who does that sort of, organic, just kind of flying by the seat of your pants sort of thing as far as story and how that all works out. But at the same time, I'm not any kind of professional, and Ethan is, and you'd think that if he's actually being a professional about it, he would have thought of what the fuck the story was. It's like he's like, it needs a good ending. It's like, how do you not know that already? It's like, how have you not come up with the ending for the book you're currently working on? I mean, he says that there's a few more issues or however many to tell his story or whatever, and it's like, how do you not have the basics of your story already plotted out? I mean, no offense, but with comic books, it's like there's not that much surely to do. It's like, I mean, all things considered, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like cyberpunk and everything, but all things considered, it's like it's a pretty short story. It's there's not a shit ton of writing. It's not like you're writing a novel, and he's had years already to think about the story and how it's going to work out, and it's like, how has he not managed to figure that out yet? Apparently he doesn't even know for sure the ending of the current book that he's working on, that we've already all bought and are waiting for. It's like, what is going on here? Anyway, I mean, as far as like endings, I mean, shit, I've got books that I haven't written that I've been sitting on the plot of or whatever for nearly 20 years now, and it's like, I know the ending. It's like, I don't know all. I know the beginning, I know some of the middle, I know the end. I just don't have all the connective tissue there to put it all together. But if I were to really apply myself, it's like I could probably knock out that novel in a year, maybe less. But anyway, it depends on how much time I dedicate. But you get what I'm saying. It's like that, and that's a fucking novel. It's like it's a comic book, and he doesn't, as a comparison, the story, the length of of plotting it out or whatever, there's so much less to do. One would think. I would think. I don't know. I mean, plotting it. I mean, drawing it. Yeah, it's like, okay, that takes a while, especially with the amount of detail that he puts in. But just plotting out, holy shit, it's like, how does he not know that? Anyway, what is it? It said needs good. Trying to figure out the end of the book and then draw it. Okay, the drawing I get taking a long time, but the trying to figure it out, it's like, that shouldn't take that long, should it? I think after 4 hours to 10.5 hour shows of his and others, he has few hours a day to devote to it. He said, "I'm content." And a chatter said, "You are content as we wait for the late book we paid for." Zing. Well, that of course brings me to the title of the video. There is... God, my memory. Your memory, Miss Price. My recollection fails me. I don't remember where the quote comes from, but there is a quote from somebody. Who the fuck said that? I don't know. Anyway, but it's to do with musicians. And the quote is something along the lines of, if, talking about musical artists that people like, if the artist are lucky, they will get over their personal problems. If you, meaning their audience, is lucky, the artist won't get over their problems. Something like that. That's like the point of that being that the reason why a lot of musical artists are able to make such good, powerful, moving music is because they are feeding off of personal tragedies and personality, whatever. It's like, I mean, personal issues that they have of one sort or another, whatever it might be, and in like they're able to put that into something creative that people enjoy, but it is a burden for them to carry whatever their personal problems are. If they're lucky, they'll get over that shit and they'll be a happy person afterwards. But if they do that, obviously their work will suffer. Their songs won't be as moving to people anymore. It's like the some of the passion will be gone out of it probably or whatever. And so it's like if the audience is lucky, your favorite musicians or whatever, they don't get over their problems. So, this is the problem with being content, with creators being content, is, it's like I have had this problem myself in my life. I have never been particularly ambitious. Now, well, let's look at the difference between me and my father. My father had a successful career, which he's now retired from, and he made a decent amount of money. He was well compensated for a number of years. Now, ex-wives and things may have cost him some of that, but we won't go into the details. But he did quite well for himself. He was ambitious, but the downside to that was that one of the reasons why he was so ambitious, why he was motivated to, to go to college and to get a degree and to, make a career for himself and so on and so forth. The reason why is because he felt looked down upon, and probably he was. I don't know. I wasn't there, obviously. When he was a kid growing up, he felt like he was looked down upon because he came from a poor family and thought that other people saw him as as being less than they were. And so he was like, well, I'll fucking show them, and he did. So on the one hand, it's like that did good things for him because it gave him ambition. On the other hand, it meant he had to feel those negative feelings about caring what other people thought of him, when those other people, it's like, who are they? They're essentially nobodies. Anyway, so I've had, the opposite. It's like I've had a relatively content life where I mostly didn't care what other people thought of me, and therefore I didn't feel overly motivated to make any kind of great success out of myself. And thus, here I am. I should by now have a career. I mean, I've had kind of the same job for long enough that maybe it should be considered a career, but it's not made me much money, enough to live on, but nothing else beyond that, really. And it's like I don't have any, any great prospects for my future. But it's like I said, it's like I've been content. I was always, well, not always, but a good portion of the time, I guess I'm the kind of guy who's willing to settle for less, because, what's, what it's like. I just don't care that much. But that, again, that has a problem. There is an issue with that. The issue being that, lack of ambition means that I haven't done any of the amazing things that I might have if I'd had the ambition. I have watched people that I know, some of them friends, some of them not, but, like people that I grew up with that have, frankly, significantly less ability than I have. And I've watched them be more successful than me. Now, again, I'm not bothered by that at all. I don't, it's like I'm happy for them, if they're my friend, and if they're not my friend, then I don't give a shit one way or the other. It's like they're successful, they're not, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's got nothing to do with me. So, like I said, it's like it's like I am aware that I have superior ability. Like when I decide to apply myself to something, it's like, I mean, it depends on what it is, obviously, but it's like certain things. It's like I can apply myself and I can do very well. Oftentimes better than other people. Um, but most of the time I don't bother because I just don't care. So, like I said, this, there's, there's the, the being content. There's the being happy, being, not being bothered by shit. But then at the same time, it's like without that fire or whatever you want to call it, you don't get as much done. So, I don't know. So, I mean, I assume that Ethan will eventually finish his current comic book. And assuming that complications arising from him being jabbed don't kill him first, I assume that eventually he'll finish all of the books that he wants to for Cyberfrog. Pardon me. But, yeah. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. Well, I mean, he's not that old. Sometimes, you make the mistake of thinking he's kind of old, but he's really not that old. It's, I don't know. It's like he, I don't know. Just like I said, can't help but think, man, if he was younger, maybe. But that's just kind of the same thing as saying, if he just had more drive. Can't help but think that, and this is something that somebody else brought up. I actually think it was somebody brought it up in Liam's chat in one of his recent live streams. They talked about how crowdfunding shouldn't be like the end point. It should be the beginning. It should be, you crowdfund. See, this is actually when I first learned about CG and Ethan and Cyberfrog. That's what I thought it was. Like, I thought that the purpose of crowdfunding was going to be he raises money to get his company started and to launch his first product. And then later, Cyberfrog would, like, be in stores or something that, it would be more like a traditional business. I didn't realize that he was just going to, be like, no, we're just going to crowdfund it forever. Like, I don't know. And you see, some people who clearly, seem to understand, like JDA, that, it's like crowdfunding is great and all, but it isn't the only thing to do. Like, it's also, it's like, I believe Tim Lim, I believe the same way. It's like he crowdfunds. Yes, he crowdfunds every book, but he also sells outside of crowdfunding. And that's probably a smart business decision, is to expand beyond merely crowdfunding everything and never doing anything beyond that. And I don't know. I mean, there's only so fast you can move and only so much you can do, and especially with Ethan being, the one-man show, essentially, it's like, there's only so much he can accomplish. There's never enough hours in the day, as I've said, or days in the year, or years in your life to get all the things done that, you keep on thinking, I need to do that. It's like, never going to get it all done. But I don't know. I look at Cyberfrog and I can't help but think over and over again that it is a very worthwhile property. It feels like properly managed, and obviously, he's being gatekept by everybody in the mainstream, so that's a problem, for it. But it's like, assuming there weren't any, like, there weren't the major roadblocks that do exist, unfortunately, for it. It feels like it's the sort of thing that probably would, have many issues by now, and not only that, but, possibly would have a toy line, and not one that was crowdfunded, but one that was put out by by some toy company or other, and had a Saturday morning cartoon or something, you know, or even an every afternoon after school cartoon. I don't know, but I don't know. It feels it feels like a very marketable property, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but the ability to exploit that is limited by the circumstances, which suck. But and it's not impossible to be both content to a certain extent, but also ambitious, at least in certain directions. But nevertheless, it's like, depending on exactly what Ethan means by saying he's content, that potentially is a very bad thing. I mean, as the audience, we kind of should want him to not really be that content. We should want him to, to maintain a burning desire to get his stuff out there and to realize great success and so on and so forth. So, anyway. All right, well, that's about all my thoughts on that, but I just thought I'd bring that up, especially after the, nothing burger of the Sketch Therapy premiere, or whatever the fuck that was. I don't know. All right. Until the next one.